Jillian Mahen here for BTN.com, joined by Jon Crispin and our newcomer, Max Biefeldt. And Max, you've played at two Big Ten schools, so this is a perfect segment for you because you were a transfer / newcomer at one point.
Traitor.
Your words, not mine. So Max,
just trying to appease some of the fan base out there.
For those who don't know, Max played at Michigan, got his undergraduate degree from Michigan, but then went to play at Indiana and got his master's from Indiana. So for you guys, I want to know, who do you think is the best transfer or newcomer playing in the Big Ten right now?
Well, I think for me, it's Reggie Lynch. The way he's changing the Minnesota team is just such the shot blocking presence is unreal. The way he can get hands on balls by the rim and just affect shots, it changes the whole team. It makes Minnesota a team they haven't been before. And obviously, I know it's tough, coming to a new culture, going from one team for 4 years to the next. It's hard to assimilate yourself. And especially, being one of the older guys and a new guy at the same time, it's kind of a weird vibe where you have to figure out what's your position with this team. And I think Reggie Lynch has done a great job asserting himself down low, just like I had to as well.
That's interesting, too, because I went from Penn State to UCLA, and what was unique for me was I went from playing 30, 35 minutes a game and starting every game since my freshman year to maybe having a role in this team. And I think it's tough for some guys when your expectations are so high, somewhat unrealistically high, to step into a much lesser role. It's humbling, it's sobering, and it's really challenging. So I look at some of these kids that come in, and I think transfers are a difficult one. I think Reggie Lynch is hard to top that, so I'm going to go to freshmen. And I think freshmen in this conference have been as good as anybody else in the country. You look at, obviously, Carson Edwards to me is huge at Purdue, having his presence, his aggression offensively. Then you look at Michigan State, so heralded, Amir Coffey at Minnesota, the freshman at Penn State. But I think the ones that really stick out to me are the freshmen at Maryland. 3 guys in the starting lineup with Jackson, Herter, and Anthony Cowan, who has been absolutely terrific. Cowan in particular does all the things that Melo Trimble doesn't really do well or doesn't really want to do. And you think of on-the-ball defense, he's as good as anybody in the conference, probably anybody in the country. He's as good as it gets. But these guys have just walked into a role, have accepted the role, accepted the fact that they're not going to be the stars that they were at the high school level, which takes time. It really does. It takes time. And guys have to accept that role, but it helps having good senior leadership. So you look at, Nate Mason, a good experienced guy to play in front of Amir Coffey and even Reggie Lynch. He comes into that situation. But then Melo Trimble. You have Melo Trimble at Maryland. There's a reason why those young freshmen have so much confidence.
Yeah, I talked with Kevin Herter just a couple of weeks ago about his role on this team, and it was really interesting because we asked him about having kind of being in that role outside of the spotlight because most of the attention goes to Melo, it goes to Cowan, it goes to Justin Jackson, and he was like, yeah, I'm just here to play my part in the team, which sounds like the cliche, but really he almost thrives in that role because he does a little bit of everything, and it's kind of the non-tangibles. You're not looking at his stats necessarily, but you're looking at the things that he's doing on the court that really give teams issues.
He also looks like he's about 14, 15 years old.
That too.
Boy next door. Like if I had a daughter, I'd probably want to set him up with Kevin Herter. That's a compliment. So don't get mad and tweet at me about it.
It's scary though. When you have young guys that know their role and do their role well, that's when you have a really good team. And you have leaders that let people know what those roles are and set the standard for what they need, and that's how teams win.
That would explain why Michigan State's having some struggles. No one there. There's no Denzel. There's no Draymond to police that locker room, and I think Tom Izzo would agree with it.
Every team needs that leader. All right, Jon, Max, thank you so much. For more basketball hoops, highlights, analysis, anything you could want relating to Big Ten basketball, head to BTN.com.